Our footballing future is very bright, and we're going to tell you exactly why on here today on the AZ Wildcats podcast.
Welcome on in, guys, to the AZ Wildcats podcast, live from Studio K, presented by our friends over at Circle K. I am Damon Fairall. That is my guy, Kevin Thomas, and we are coming to you live on a Thursday afternoon here in beautiful, lovely downtown Phoenix at HQ3. As me and my boy talked about in the comments of a couple of shows ago, that's what we're doing now. HQ3 like that, Kevin.
Won't
nice
that thing
simple.
around.
But we, of course, have our guy, Justin Spears, joining us later in the show. He's going to break us down everything he's seeing and hearing out at fall camp. We are so excited to talk to Justin Spears. And Kevin, we are so excited to talk about the Arizona Wildcats today. How are you living on a Thursday, my brother?
Doing good. As you know, I had some Hawaiian food this morning.
You did.
Earlier than maybe even people in Hawaii eat Hawaiian food.
For sure. Even me, Mr. Hawaiian Barbecue, was in complete and utter shock walking into the room, seeing Kevin at 10:30 a.m.
10:39.
Opening up a giant plate, styrofoam classic plate of Hawaiian barbecue, couple entrees, some mac salad, some rice, some veggies, and even a masubi. I mean, Kevin was really feasting. I was to a nice little 10:30 early lunch.
I was starving, is what I was doing. Last night it was, do we make dinner or watch movies? And I chose movies in lieu of having leftovers for lunch today, Damon. But that's not why we're here, and that's not what we're going to talk about today. I'm doing good. I hope that you are doing well, Damon. I hope everyone in the chat is having a great Friday Eve today. But before we get into telling everyone why the future is so bright with our friends over at Shady Rays, I wanted to real quick have a quick tangent about Arizona's recruiting class versus Duke's recruiting class.
Yeah.
I'm seeing people from Duke's fan base that have found my tweet.
Get the Duke fans in here.
And they have
disagreed.
They have disagreed with my take that Arizona's recruiting class should be rated number 1 in the nation over Duke's recruiting class. And honestly, I'm splitting hairs. Like, I don't want it to, maybe on Twitter it feels like that because I did say it quite definitively. This class should be rated higher than Duke's, period. It was the exact sentence, right? And I think that is a definitive way to put it. But it's not like the margin is very far, right? Like, you have 3 legitimate 5 stars in Duke's class. Dame Sarr, albeit coming from overseas, still gets that 5-star rating. And then Cameron Boozer and Nicholas Hemania, who Arizona was in on as well. I think that Cameron Boozer and Koa Pete, for me, that's a wash because I feel like Koa Pete is just as good of a player as Cameron Boozer, and he's slightly underrated in that sense. Cameron Boozer coming in nationally at number 3. Koa Pete, I believe, was what? Did he finish 11 nationally?
Yes.
So we're talking about 2 top 10 guys. I know that the when you go from 11 to 3, there's a lot of gap there. But as we've discussed on this pod, the difference between what Koa Pete has done and what other people have done before him does not dictate that he should be ranked 11th in the country, right? He should be much closer to that 5th overall probably in the country. And if he was properly rated around that top 5, now you really are talking about a wash between Cameron Boozer and Koa Pete. Nicholas Hemania, top 15 player in the country. Now, I'm not making a one-to-one comparison in terms of play style, but I am going to make a one-to-one comparison in terms of rating this class. That's the 15th overall player. He's a 5-star. Braden Burries, I'll take him. I'll take Braden Burries over Nicholas Hemania from a rating standpoint. Now, on a basketball standpoint, that has yet to be seen. 6'8", 210 pounds. There's a different skill set there. We'll see how this plays out on the court.
Not to cut you off, but
go ahead.
I wanted to say that I just popped in my head. If Koa Pete was committed to Duke, he wouldn't be the 11th ranked player in the country.
Dude, they would be talking about him as what he is, which is the most decorated high school basketball player to ever play the game of basketball at that level. But they're not going to do that because he goes to Arizona, as you already alluded to. And then you have Caden Boozer, who gets that Boozer bump, the 23rd overall player in the nation. He's the 4-star brother, son of Carlos there. And then Sebastian Wilkins coming in at 4-star, Dame Sar. And we've alluded to Ifeanyi Ufechukwu.
Ufechukwu is, that was good. I don't know about the first.
The first one, it threw me for a loop. It threw me. There's a lot of vowels in there, and I don't know what's going on. Yeah, Ifeanyi. I don't know, but Ufechukwu is a transfer from Rice, and then that is your one transfer, right? You also have, the fact that he's 6'10", but I honestly think Arizona's class really does match up with Duke's class, and I think that anybody being dismissive of the idea that Arizona's class could have been ranked number 1 isn't really looking at it in a fair lens, in my opinion, because I think Arizona's class should be rated 1, but I'm splitting hairs. Like, I really am. I know I am to get there. I just want to start today's show by saying it's closer than you think, Duke fans, between Arizona's class and Duke's class. It's closer than you think. That's all I'm saying.
I'm with you, Kevin, because just looking at this right here, we talk about Arizona's kind of blue chippers, right? And they have 3 of them. We'll include Dwayne Aristote in that list, and I think Dwayne Aristote is every bit as good as these 2 4-stars that are on Duke's recruiting class rankings right here. We, of course, both have 2 5-stars. They have Dame Sar. I think that might be kind of the differentiator between their class versus our class is they have a 5-star ranked international prospect, whereas our guys do not have rankings necessarily. And forgive me if they've been inputted in there, but I don't know that they're, on the same level as that guy. So I think that that's kind of the differentiator for a lot of these recruiting sites is Dame Sar is viewed higher than Ivan Karchenkov and Mobile Mawut and CD Gay, who is in fact on campus right now. And did want to shout out our guy Mike Luke, who had that first, which, that's big news for Arizona basketball. You got CD Gay finally getting over to come here in Tucson and no longer, on the, kind of in the limbo necessarily for what you got going on with all the immigration stuff in the presidential regime. But
real quick on the CD Gay thing, again, like you said, shout out to Mike Luke for that, our guy. I wanted to mention his tweet because it made me laugh, and not because it was a bad tweet or anything like that.
Yeah.
But the lack of a comma between all 6'11" of him, comma, without shoes, is meant to imply like he's 6'11" without shoes. But in the way that Mike tweeted it, it did sound like CD Gay, all 6'11" of him arrived in Tucson without a pair of shoes to wear. And that made me laugh really hard. So shout out to him for the news.
His shoes.
Yeah. He was so excited to get out the house. He forgot a pair of slides. No.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
But yeah, no.
I do think that, that's the differentiators. Their international prospect is considered a 5-star. Ours are a little bit more unknown. Maybe they could be that. I don't know if any of them are receiving the type of hype that a Dame Sar is getting, but who knows? Maybe Ivan Karchenkov is that guy. You know what I mean? So we'll find that out in the long run. Kobe says he thinks that they got ranked by 247 this week.
They did. I was checking a couple days ago. They were not ranked. I'm checking right now. Mobile Mawut received a 3-star rating, 58th in his position.
Seems fair.
6th in the state. I don't know if that's how that works 24/7, but
well, they have him in New York.
Okay, fair.
Yeah.
Fair. You know what? Fair enough. But yeah, Mobile Mawut, 58th best player in his position, 3 stars. CD Gay coming in with a 4-star rating, and then Ivan Karchenkov with another 4-star rating, just slightly higher than CD Gay's 4-star rating. And I do want to say,
Ivan Karchenkov's rating is Dwayne Aristote's rating. They're both 95.
Damn, you're right.
Ivan Karchenkov is. I mean, they have him as essentially in that class with the other top 3 recruits in
Duke
in
fans,
Arizona.
what's good? Duke fans, what's good?
So, I mean, not quite the Dame Sar 5-star, but just a step below that.
Yes.
So, yeah, I mean, I hear what you're saying, Kevin. I think a lot kind of rests on how the international guys look for Arizona, but I think the cream of the crop in both of those recruiting classes are absolutely on par with one another. And
And you could argue the depth.
I don't think that you're fairly being criticized by Duke fans.
But I get it though. I get it. If I brought in another number one class and some guy from Tucson was trying to be like, "Oh, our class is better. We have more depth of talent on our. We are going to have more rotation guys on." And it's like, dude, I don't give a damn about none of that. I got 2 Boozer twins, a Hemania, another 5-star, and we got some Ufachukwu from Rice. I'm with it. And I get it. If I'm a Duke fan, I really do get it.
Evan Nelson.
Yeah, we got Evan Nelson. They got Cameron Boozer. Well, we got Evan Nelson, and that's how I'm feeling about the recruiting class this year. But yeah, I just want to start off the show with that. We got Justin Spears joining here at 2:15, so about here in 5 or so minutes. And before we get to that, I tweeted it out earlier. We are encroaching upon football season, and it was a very sad football season last year. Painful, actually, at times.
The saddest.
In many different ways. So let's take a beat. Let's put on our rose-colored goggles, and let's tell people why the future is bright. Presented by our friends over at Shady Rays. Head to shadyrays.com and use promo code PHNX at checkout for 35% off polarized sunglasses. And Damon is looking fly. Is looking real fly in his Shady Rays.
Oh, what's up? I couldn't see you there. It was too bright, so I had to put my shades on, Kevin.
Woo.
Shout out our friends at Shady Rays. Shout out my guy Derek Montilla for loaning me these fire shades that match with the cactus logo.
Yeah.
You know, and match with the little phoenix here on the laptop as well. But you know, Kevin, the future is bright for the Arizona Wildcats, and truly, you know, when you're looking at the athletic department as a whole, maybe not the football program in particular, although there are some reasons for optimism with the football program, but it feels as though Arizona, and especially since Desiree Reed-Francois took over, that things are moving in the right direction for Arizona. And you know, there's a lot's been made of Dave Hickey and kind of what was going on when he was at the wheel in terms of like a spending standpoint. Arizona obviously had the very public shortfall from a budgetary standpoint. Damn right, Edgar Ortiz. But there was obviously like the shortfall budgetary stuff, right? And DRF was brought in to primarily go about trying to fix that. I think that we're seeing that happen in real time, but at the same point, we're not necessarily seeing a drop off in our athletics as well. So, you know, they've extended Tommy Lloyd. They've shown their loyalty to Tommy Lloyd and proven how much he means to, you know, this athletic department as a whole. You know, he's the king of Tucson. We talk about it all the time, and rightfully so, right? You bring in Becky Burke, who, you know, despite not making as much money as Adia Barnes, feels like she's almost re-galvanized the fan base and their passion for women's basketball, which we all know is very, there's a lot of room for in Tucson. People love women's basketball in Tucson, and Becky Burke has really found a way to capture, you know, kind of the minds of that. And then you talk about from a football standpoint, Kevin, like I think if there's room for optimism in any place, it's room for optimism with the coaching decisions, right, over the offseason.
Yeah. And I think, like, you know, I mean, let's talk about it. Seth Doege.
MF and Doege.
Do I have to say more words than those two right there? Ask me why the future is bright. I say Seth, MF, and Doege.
I might need a second pair of sunglasses for Seth Doege.
It's crazy. His future is so bright that, like, people, when he was signed here, just assumed that, well, if Brennan fails, we have our guy. And I don't think that's necessarily very fair to Brent Brennan, you know what I mean, who's maybe trying to keep himself on campus by having Seth Doege here. Mm-hmm. But I think that reaction from the fan base, albeit, like I said, unfair to Brent Brennan, was more so illustrative of what we think Seth Doege could be as a play caller.
Yeah.
Right? At the college level. He seems to have all the pieces. And when you talk about turning around a program after the year that they had last year, you need an injection of force, an injection of energy, an injection of life that Seth Doege can bring. You need all of that. And I think that when I asked it on Twitter today, pretty much most people were responding with coaching changes or Seth Doege as one of their first or second reasons for having optimism in regard to Arizona football this year. And so I just think that Seth Doege, he is the man. And I'm very excited to, you know, to literally get to watch the first year of Doege ball for Arizona football, because it could be a program-changing thing. It could be something that gets Arizona on the right track. I think that is the number one reason why the future is bright. My second reason being basketball is I have my countdown always with me, Damon. It's never going to leave. 73 days, 12 hours, 44 minutes, and 40 seconds away. And the future, it's a little dim because it's far out there, but it's bright for basketball. There are a lot of good things going on with Arizona athletics, and I'm happy that Shady Rays and our friends over there, use promo code PHNX, get 35% off polarized sunglasses. It's a nice reminder. You're almost done with the work week. Maybe your feet are dragging, and you just kind of need to feel a reason to feel optimism. Shady Rays is here. The future is bright. And shout out to our friends over at Shady Rays.
Real quick before we got off of this kind of topic, Kevin, I did just want to say regarding Seth Doege, yesterday when we were doing our Big 12 betting preview, we obviously went through kind of all the lines in the college football world and even gave a few non-Big 12 type of bets that we were fans of. When I was doing that research, I came across Marshall's over-under total from last season. And Kevin, they are set at 4.5 or 5.5, depending on what sportsbook you look at. I believe they're at 5.5 when you're looking at Bet365. Use our promo code of PHNX365 and sign up today. But 5.5, going from winning the conference title game to whether, hey, we're either going to make a bowl game or not. I mean, to me at least, that tells me that Seth Doege made a big difference there for that team. And I think that your Arizona goes their win total was set at 4.5. It's now at 5.5. It's moved its way up. Even yesterday when we were looking at it, 7+ wins is only plus 120, which is like a lot smaller of a number than I would have previously thought. It seems as though Arizona is somewhat just on the right track when it comes to what they have going on a football standpoint, and it feels like Vegas is somewhat along with that belief as well. Like the Arizona isn't just like, this isn't just me and Kevin sunshine pumping on this show every day trying to figure out ways that we can mental gymnastics ourselves into believing in this football team. No, it seems as though people that are outside, people that are knowledgeable but still have a good, sense of what else is going on around the college football landscape, believe that Arizona is going to be a lot better this year as well. I think there's a lot of room for optimism. And with that being said, shades off.
Bam. Shades off. I love to see it.
Mic drop.
Love to see it, but do love to also see some Shady Rays here on today's show. And we're going to get another very cool guy. The future is bright for him as well. Justin Spears is going to join us after this break here on the AZ Wildcats podcast. Don't go anywhere. Drink your water. It's still the damn summer. Damon, one thing you're going to have to do at all times is support our friends over at Pure Edibles, because Pure Edibles,
please.
There's about 170 dispensaries in the state of Arizona, the Freedom State of Arizona. And if you are not shopping at one that sells Pure Edibles, they have over 130 dispensaries dispensing Pure Edibles. And those are the most high quality locations you can shop at. It was founded here in the Freedom State, and it is going to stay here in the Freedom State, right here at Noble Herb Dispensary, the home of Pure Edibles, and is now made in Phoenix, Arizona. They're designed to be ripped, bit in half, or shared. Easy to dial in that perfect dosage for you. And you're like, what's the feeling going to be? What is this dosage? They're clearly labeled on each tin, so you know exactly what kind of experience you're getting into. Go find yourself some Pure Edibles products from the over 130 dispensaries across Arizona.
Pure Edibles is absolutely electric. They always hook us up. Good people over there. Go support them. Go support local. And we also love supporting this local company as well. It's Branded Bills. You guys hear us talk about it all the time. If you are not in on the Branded Bills campus collection yet, and you are an Arizona fan, straight up, you just do not have the best hats in all of Arizona.
Missing out.
I got one on right now. It's so beautiful. It feels like a pillow on my head, Kevin. And whether it's a snapback like I have on, a fitted, a trucker, a beanie, even a t-shirt, Branded Bills is the ultimate custom apparel that you will find anywhere. Our promo code of BBPHNX is going to get you 15% off your first order. I know I always see, Kevin, whenever I'm online, I see our guy Eric Duthie, dropping his selfies with his new Branded Bills hats on. We love to see people throw on their Branded Bills hats, add us, tag us when you use this promo code. always gets a retweet, always gets a follow from your boys here, and we'll follow you from the show account. Guys, Brandon Bills is I'm not just blowing smoke here. It genuinely is the only hat to wear if you're an Arizona fan, because they have so many styles, so many different logos on that you can pick from. Colors, you can go black, you can go light blue, you can go white, you can go gray, you can go navy blue. I mean, you name it, man. Brandon Bills, they have all of the options. And like I said, please use that promo code of BBPHNX. Get 15% off that first order over at brandedbills.com. Without further ado, we bring on our guy, Justin Spears. Justin, how are we living today on a Thursday?
What's going on, guys? Thanks for having me on. Good to see you.
Yeah, fired up to have you on today. Seems like, things are kind of continuing down on the fall camp streets of things. Lots of what we've kind of been accustomed to seeing, in my opinion, at least from reading your fall camp notes, which are so great on Tucson.com for the Arizona Daily Star. Please go support Justin's great work. But every time I read your notes, it just seems like what we got going on is the DBs are like, it seems like kind of rounding into shape of really who kind of is going to take the bulk of the playing time there. And it always seems like Noah Fifita is finding a way to connect with a different pass catcher that we've talked about all the pass catchers ad nauseum, but a different pass catcher each day is kind of taking over the reign of being the primary guy on any given day. So I guess we'll start there. Is that a fair encapsulation of what's going on? Is Noah Fifita really spreading it around the rock?
Absolutely, man. The variety of passes that we're seeing, it's definitely different than last year. And yeah, you're totally right. I mean, every single day it's a new wide receiver coming up with big plays, whether it's Javon Watley taking the top off the defense, going deep for a long touchdown, or catching a slant pass. But because he is one of Arizona's fastest guys on that side of the ball, he's able to really hit that fifth gear, turn that corner, and go. And so getting Javon Watley out in space has been awesome to see. Chris Hudson is a really good playmaker at wide receiver. And I didn't know this until last night, but that viral video of Mario Cristobal chewing out a wide receiver in 2021 when Oregon was playing against Arizona, that wide receiver was Chris Hudson. Had no idea that was Chris Hudson until I saw that video last night. And also shout out to him, maintaining eye contact, saying, "Yes, coach," despite getting an ass chewing. Like that's a good man right there. Good ball player from Chris Hudson. But yeah, Chris Hudson, he's made a lot of great catches in training camp, and catches where, it's not like T-Mac where he's jumping up and making these sick one-handed catches like Odell Beckham. But there have been catches where he's falling down and he's able to maintain the concentration and come up with a catch. And then, Devin Hyatt from time to time will come up with some pretty big-time catches. And then Trey Spivey, in my opinion, has had the highlight catches of training camp. And, the fact that we could sit here and list off so many wide receivers shows how much depth that these guys have. Bobby Wade said that they feel comfortable with the top 6 players in the wide receiver room. And what's crazy is I'm willing to bet that one of those 6 players isn't a guy like Jeremiah Patterson, who Arizona was kind of relying on as being one of those top 2 or top 3 wide receivers last year. So they added a lot of speed. They added a lot of depth. And I can't emphasize this enough. They added a lot of experience. It's not like they just added a bunch of freshmen and they're relying on guys with no experience to contribute to this offense. These are guys who at their previous stops were some big-time wide receivers, and now they're hoping that this potpourri of skill sets and different body types and speeds, they're hoping it's all going to come together and it's going to be a really nice mix for Noah Fifita in this offense.
You were talking about some of the receiving core, and I honestly, I think I want to start here with my questioning, because you mentioned some guys that I think you might actually give your answer as that such person. So our show title today was who could be the breakout stars of Arizona football for 2025, who could really make a new name for themselves this upcoming Big 12 football season. And my pick was Genesis Smith. I feel like underrated is not even the word, not even mentioned in many preseason preview articles from the national perspective, was Genesis Smith. So I feel like he is the easy answer, right? He is the guy that was not mentioned, that was one of the most productive guys last year. But as you see it, who do you think, and it can be on either side of the ball, is going to be the guy that at the end of the year, Arizona fans and national football fans look back and say, that so-and-so from Arizona was really, really impressive last year.
Man, Genesis Smith is from our perspective, because we follow U of A football closely and we know what these guys are about, right? Almost seems like Genesis Smith is like the clear-cut choice as that breakout guy. From the national perspective, he's not getting any love, right?
Yeah.
EA Sports College Football 26 in that just absolutely atrocious player rating. Come on, guys. Like, what are we doing? They still haven't even updated it yet. I'm like, man. So that's going to shoot up this season when Genesis Smith ends up becoming one of the top defensive backs in the Big 12. I really like Genesis Smith a lot. I mean, I think the fact that he was able to really start a lot of games, because he contributed as a freshman, whenever they went into that dollar package and they brought out 7 DBs, he was one of the guys that they brought out there. So he contributed as a freshman, but going into last year, he was still the guy that was on the outside looking in, right? Because you had Gunnar Maldonado, you had Dalton Johnson and Traden Stukes, but those guys get banged up. And then Genesis throughout the season is able to play multiple spots in the secondary. And we talked to safeties coach Brett Arcee, I think last week, and he said that the cool thing about Genesis Smith is that he can draw 11. And what does draw 11 mean? Well, Genesis essentially knows what every single position on the field is doing. And so even though he is a free safety, I kind of look at Genesis Smith as like the voice and even like the heart and soul of this defense, because he can really know exactly what everybody is doing on the defensive side of the ball. So I think Genesis Smith, with his long frame and his athletic ability, I think he's going to be one of Arizona's most impactful players on defense. And, we're not sitting here counting up every single, interception or stat, but I think it's fair to say that Genesis Smith is the unofficial leader of interceptions this training camp for Arizona. And so he's going to have a lot of interceptions this season. And I think now that he is a bona fide starter, he's in that role. I think he's going to have a breakout year. But as far as other guys in Arizona's defense, up front on the defensive line, I think you're going to see Trey Smith really take that next step coming off the edge. And the coaching of Joe Salavea, I think, is going to have this guy. He may not be an all-conference player when it's all said and done, but an all-conference honorable mention, I think, is something that Trey Smith can definitely get. And, the thing about Trey Smith was that he never completed the play when rushing the quarterback. He would always get to the quarterback. He had 28 quarterback pressures, but only 4.5 of them turned into sacks. And there were a lot of times last year where, you would see Trey Smith, he would bull rush upfield. Hold on. Group chat is popping off. Do not disturb mode.
It's fantasy football season. We get it.
It's turned on. Yeah. Okay. Do not disturb mode is on.
They're like, I just got the Bryce Young T-Mac stack in my draft. It's over, boys. It's over.
Oh, by the way, Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt for $1 last week in my auction draft. Absolute steal. And by the way, this was before Brian Robinson Jr. was being shopped around by the Commanders. So I'm not saying I saw the future, right? My heart told me to pick Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt for $1, but nobody had a counter offer. They're like, okay, yeah, you can have Bill for $1. I'm like,
you can have Bill for a bill.
You guys have no idea what you guys just did.
I got him in my dynasty league, Justin. I picked him up. You do like a rookie draft every year in your dynasty league, and no one drafted him. I picked him up right after the draft was over, and now I got Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt. I got Bill Merritt on my team forever. Electric.
And now we're just like, yes, rubbing our hands menacingly. But going back to what I was talking about regarding Trey Smith, is there were a lot of times last year where he would bull rush and get upfield, and then a mobile quarterback would step up and slip right under him. And we saw that with Devin Dampier in New Mexico. He did that quite a bit. I think Avery Johnson had a couple runs like that as well. And it seemed like whenever they would play athletic quarterbacks, they always had those problems. And then sometimes, like we saw in the game against ASU in the Territorial Cup, if you have a really good running back and you have a guy that's bull rushing upfield, you just do running plays and slip right under him. And I couldn't tell you how many times ASU had chunk runs because of stuff like that. And so Joe Salavea, he is having the defensive line play responsible, containing the edge, sealing the edge, not bull rushing upfield and allowing mobile quarterbacks, running backs to slip under you. There's definitely more containment on the line of scrimmage. And so I think with Joe Salavea coaching these guys, I think you're going to see Arizona's defensive line really take a step forward. So I'll put Trey Smith. I know he's kind of viewed as like a team captain. He represented Arizona at Big 12 Media Day, but I think Trey Smith is going to really make a big jump this upcoming season for the Wildcats.
I love it. I love it. Kevin, you got anybody other than Genesis Smith that you wanted to talk about?
Genesis Smith was my pick. I mean, I think Chris Hunter is gonna
easy cop out answer.
It was
our guy Kevin Thomas.
It was from the guy that came up with the question. I think I was good enough to do the cop out, but I think I'm gonna go Chris Hunter as my other pick. I don't know if that's another cop out, but I genuinely, from speaking to him speaking about leaving things on the table last season, I really feel like that's a hungry receiver who, in a room that it doesn't really have a number one guy, could be that first option, I'll say, in a way, maybe a statistical leader in that room. So he could be a breakout guy. In terms of like real national breakout type of people, Genesis Smith came to mind. Could Tay Brown break out in your opinion, Justin Spears? I know that you said that you think he might be a tackle leader for this team upcoming. His name comes to mind for me, but like Spears led off with his answer, Genesis Smith, like he's the low-hanging fruit there, but that's because he's been ripening the longest on the tree and it's getting heavy, and it's time for someone to pick Genesis Smith. You know what I mean? Someone needs to eat this fruit. I don't know. But, I think I don't really have anyone else in mind. Genesis Smith is my pick.
Yeah, no, Tay Brown is a really good choice, and Tay was challenged this year by Danny Gonzalez and the defensive staff, and Danny told him, like, I hope you know I'm recruiting guys that are looking to take your spot. Like, I'm going to have guys in here that are hungry, ready to go in case you're not ready to go. And Tay was like, okay, challenge accepted. And he has been the most steady linebacker in that group. You know, we've seen a handful of different tandems, right? But Tay Brown has always been the consistent guy right there in the middle for Arizona's defense. And I think now that he is going into his third season in the program, he played a lot of snaps last year. And I think now that he doesn't have Jacob Manu next to him, like I felt like last year with Jacob Manu, he felt like, okay, this is Manu's defense. He's the guy that's in charge of all of us. He is the guy right there in the middle that's going to rally the troops and be the heart and soul of this defense. And I feel like he learned a lot from Jacob Manu, but I also feel like now that Manu is no longer here, Tay feels like, okay, now I have to take it upon myself. I'm an upperclassman. I've been here for a few seasons. Let me find my voice and let me lead this defense. And Josh Bringell, a great linebackers coach that they added in the offseason, he has lauded Tay Brown for really finding his voice and becoming a vocal leader. And he's also a guy that really leads by example at the same time as well. He didn't really lead by example too much last year. He racked up a lot of tackles, don't get me wrong, but there were a lot of times where you were like, is Tay Brown even on the field? Like, I just don't remember him making this grand play. I don't know if you guys can remember, but
no,
he was very pedestrian, right? Very mild. And so I think now that he's got that experience and he's got that vocal leadership working on it over the last several months in the spring and training camp, I could totally see him take that next step as a linebacker. And I think the linebacker group as a whole is going to be a lot of fun to watch. With Chase Kennedy and Riley Wilson, the transfer from Montana, those guys with edge rushing experience, that gives Arizona another element, right? It gives, if they go into a 3-3-5 look, well, you usually think that second three is linebackers. No, that third is like a stand-up defensive end, a guy that has defensive end experience, but a guy who's also a stand-up linebacker and can drop back in pass coverage. And both Riley Wilson and Chase Kennedy are more than capable of dropping back into pass coverage. But man, they are really elite when it comes to getting into the backfield and rushing the quarterback. So I think that 1-2 punch right there with Chase Kennedy and Riley Wilson as that third linebacker. And then you have Tay Brown and Max Harris. And, I think that group right there, Leviticus Sua has had a really good training camp. Not really sure what his role is going to be like on the defense this year, but that was once a player who was a highly touted recruit out of Modern Day. And when he got to Arizona, he just looked stiff. Like he just looked like it was like hard for him to move, and he was just like a step or two slow. And we were like, man, did Leviticus Sewell like peak in high school, or like what the hell is going on here? And come to find out, he's been dealing with injuries that obviously impair your movement. And so he had to overcome that. But now that he's healthy, he looks really good out there. So I think the linebacker group is in a really good spot right now. On the offensive side of the ball, you guys got me really thinking about, potential breakout stars. And in the running back room, I mean, we already talked about the receivers, but in the running back room, people talk about Ismail Mahdi, and rightfully so. He was an All-American for what he did as a running back and a returner at Texas State. I believe he led college football in all-purpose yards a couple years ago, or was one of the leaders. So this guy's really good. Kedrick Reesano is built like a linebacker, and he's going to run through you. A really good running back. But the third option, and a guy that I think is going to make a lot of impactful plays, is Quincy Craig. And Quincy is such an interesting story because when he was at Mater Dei, remember, he's a running back. He grew up playing running back. And when he went to Mater Dei, they had a guy by the name of Raleek Brown, who's now the starting running back at ASU. And there's also another running back who's currently at Sacramento State. And those two guys started ahead of Quincy Craig. So Quincy wanted to get on the field. And in order for him to get on the field, he started at slot receiver and became Mater Dei's top slot receiver. But he was recruited out of high school to play running back. And not only was he a slot receiver, but he was also a really good returner. He had more returning yards than rushing yards at Mater Dei. And went to Portland State, had a solid career there, but was still more of like a wide receiver returner type. He comes to Arizona, and this guy, not only is he a really good running back, but his experience as a receiver gives Arizona an option that they just don't really have with Ismail Mahdi and Kedrick Reesano. Don't get me wrong, Ismail Mahdi and Kedrick Reesano, they're going to make a lot of catches this upcoming year. But I'm willing to bet that the running back with the most receptions this year is going to be Quincy Craig. I mean, he's going to be big on third and long situations, really any third down situation. And he's also a really good blocker too. I've been watching backs versus blocker drills in training camp where the running backs are lined up as like offensive tackles essentially, and then the linebackers are blitzing and they're trying to get to the bag in the backfield, which is the quarterback. And Quincy Craig, in my opinion, is Arizona's best blocking running back, which says something because he doesn't have the big muscle frame like a Kedrick Reesano or even a Wesley Yarbrough, but the dude is pound for pound maybe the strongest team on the Wildcats. Like he's like 195 pounds, but the dude can like squat 500 pounds. Yeah, like he can squat that much. He can bench press like well over like 350 or something like that. Like the dude is just so strong, and he's a very small player. So I'll have to double check those numbers, but it's just like his weight room numbers are just absolutely insane for a player of that stature. And so he's tough. He can block well. Is a really good receiver. And he's also shown that he's a really patient runner. He doesn't get too excited and he's trying to make the big play. He stays behind his line and then he figures out which lane he can take to make that big play. So on the offensive side of the ball, if I were to bank on a guy who's going to be a breakout player, I'll say Quincy Craig.
Yeah, that blocking aspect is so important, especially from a pass-catching running back, because oftentimes the pass-catching backs are a little bit smaller in stature, right? It's probably a little bit easier to assume that role and be shifty out of the backfield when you're a little bit of a smaller guy. But I feel like a lot of times those guys aren't the best blockers. So if you have that aspect included in your game, you'll just see so much more playing time in passing situations. I wanted to give my quick breakout stars, and Justin, I'll let you speak to what you've seen from those guys in camp so far, because I have two that I wanted to talk about real quick. I think one of them is just a little bit unheralded, I guess is the word for it. I think maybe. Not like I speak for a living or anything, but
Justin's the big J here. We can
is.
speak, but the true vocab needs to be put in those feature pieces. You know what I mean? We got to throw
100%.
big words in there, you know?
100%. But I think Alexander Deuced is going to be a guy who is on NFL radars, is kind of where I'm speaking of from a breakout standpoint. I think a lot of people probably are just like Arizona fans that are knowledgeable know that he is a clear-cut starter on this offensive line. But I could see a world in which, that's a guy who, could potentially be a professional football player in the future and really assumes a role as like kind of like the new Jonas Savaiinaea, the new Jordan Morgan, who's like the leader of the offensive line unit. And I know he's a little bit more of a quiet guy, and I'm not saying necessarily from like a personality standpoint, but just more of like a lead from example standpoint. And then my second was Tyler Powell, who seems to really have kind of taken the position of tight end and taken a jump this offseason, according to his coaching staff, whether it's Brent Brennan or Josh Miller or Seth Dagey. It feels like everybody's talking about this guy and just kind of his change from the offseason to now and what kind of player he's becoming. So how do you feel about those two options as the breakout stars?
Well, starting with Alexander Deuced, you don't have to be this super vocal guy to be the leader of the offensive line, because Big Jonah was like that, right? Jonah was a very cerebral, very cool-headed player. He just allowed his play to do the talking. That was the kind of player that Jonah was, and that's the kind of player that Alexander Deuced is. And I think there is something to be said about playing right in between Josh Baker and Big Jonah, right? You have an NFL second-round pick, a guy who is playing for the Miami Dolphins, a guy who is one of the top offensive linemen in college football, and then you have this center who isn't playing at the NFL level, isn't playing pro ball, period, but is a guy that played for so many years and started at center for 3 years. And we talked to Alex a couple weeks ago, and he said when he was going into his first start against Utah, like he was about to poop himself, man. Like he was like so scared during the game or pregame. And Josh Baker and Jonah, they kind of like calmed him down a little bit. They're like, hey, man, you got us. We are here for you, and we are going to do a great job. And sure enough, in Deuce's first start, Arizona won the game against Utah in Salt Lake City. And from that point forward, he did a pretty solid job. He was so good that he got Pro Football Focus freshman All-American honors. So he was looked at as one of the top freshman offensive linemen in college football. And I think now that he has that experience, because that was his first go-around as a college football player. He started his career at Northwestern, but he didn't play until he got to Arizona. So now getting that experience under his belt and continuing to work on his body, he's about 6'7", 330 pounds. He is maybe Arizona's strongest offensive lineman. We've heard that from his teammates. We've heard that from coaches. And that frame right there at right guard, that's going to be a problem for teams in the Big 12. And so I think that Alexander Deuced is going to be maybe Arizona's best offensive lineman this upcoming season. But he may not get looked at it like that because he's playing right guard, right? He's not playing left tackle, right tackle. We'll see what happens with Rhino Tapatotai, if he's going to play guard or tackle. But yeah, I'm a big fan of Alexander Deuced. It's funny, is his last name is actually, I think, Persian for friend. His last name is Persian for friend. And I'm like, well, if he does his job right, he's going to be a Deuced of no Fifita.
Yep.
That's for sure. And then the Tyler Powell situation, Kean Burnett, he's been a little bit banged up. And so Tyler Powell has been really that starting tight end. And he's a really good route runner, really good pass catcher. And I saw a play during training camp earlier this week that really caught my attention, where he was a lead blocker for Kedrick Reesano right up the middle. Tyler Powell, the ball snap, Tyler Powell goes inside and cuts the corner and turns into a lead blocker for Kedrick Reesano. and then blows up a guy. I forgot if it was a defensive lineman or a linebacker, and then Kedrick Reesano right off his hip breaks out for a gain of 10 or 12 yards. So not only has he shown that he is a really good pass catcher, but blocking, especially in this offense, is going to be so key. And I think that Tyler Powell, almost want to say Tyler Loop, Tyler Powell is going to be a guy that really takes a step forward this season.
You mentioned, go ahead, Damon.
I was just going to say that we're going to talk a little bit more about what's going on over at fall camp, and we'll do that right after the break here on the AZ Wildcats podcast.
And while we're in this break, I want to remind you all that there is no better place, I'll say, on earth to get your Spurts merchandise than at Rally House. They literally have it all, from jerseys to dog collars to coasters. Literally, they have it all. It is a sports fans like candy store to walk into a Rally House and see all of your favorite teams and logos from wall to wall. Whether, Rally House, whether it's like jerseys, whether it's coolers, whether it's signage, whether it's a flag, whether it's drinkware, they have it for your favorite team. And now they carry only Arizona sports teams as well. So every time you visit a Rally House, you're guaranteed to find something new, unique, and that matches your game day vibe, whatever that one is for you. So find your local Rally House location and shop their entire product assortment online at www.rallyhouse.com today. And while you're at it, get your boy like an Arizona Wildcats coaster or something. I love a good coaster from our friends over at Rally House.
Three Rally House locations here in the Valley, Kevin. They got one in the East Valley, one in the Central Valley, and one in the West Valley. So something for everybody, whether it's Glendale, Gilbert, or Tempe Marketplace. Rally House. Go hit up their stores and see the best apparel in the business. Another place that we want to talk to you about is Circle K. Guys, it's a fuel day today. So what you're going to do is you're going to finish watching this fine program. Then you're going to get in your car. You're going to go over your nearest Circle K, which I know if you're in the state of Arizona, there's one like legitimately like a minute away from you as we speak. And then you're going to save money on the absolute best price point that you'll find on fuel anywhere right now. And that's because on an Inner Circle fuel day like today, you're going to save 40 cents at the pump when you're an Inner Circle Rewards member. All you got to do is download the app, plug in a username and a password. It takes 5 minutes to sign up, 5 seconds to sign up. 5 minutes is way too long. It doesn't take nearly 5 minutes to sign up. You're going to save 25 cents off per gallon on your first 5 fill-ups. Then you're going to save 3 cents off per gallon every time you fill up after that until you become a premium member, and you'll get 5 cents off per gallon. But guys, like I said, today is an Inner Circle gas day right now as we speak. Go take advantage of that. Get that 40 cents off per gallon at your closest Circle K and download the Inner Circle Rewards app for free. Terms and conditions apply at participating locations. Visit CircleK.com for details.
I, for one, cannot wait to stop by Circle K after I leave the office tonight and pick up some gas at a highly discounted rate. Yeah. Shout out to Circle K.
You got to get in on those savings, man. But Justin, I did want to stay on the tight end topic just for one quick second here. Our guy Caden Luke, who has kind of been a fullback for this team over his first couple seasons at Arizona. He's now since been moved to tight end on the roster. Can you tell us anything about that? Is that a ploy maybe to get him on the field a little bit more as a blocker, but essentially use him in a similar way, or what's going on with that?
My ginger brother, Caden Luke, Big Red, baby. Yeah, Caden is moving from fullback to tight end. And, I mean, really, he's going to be an extra blocker.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the stuff that I've seen, he's essentially a fullback. But they're just giving him the tight end label. So, yeah, I don't really know what the plan is for Big Red. But, a really cool story. A guy who led the state of Arizona in rushing a couple years ago at CDO, took the Dorados to a state championship. And it's just it's a really cool story to see Caden Luke play at Arizona, live out his childhood dreams. Like I said, considering Kean Burnett, Tyler Powell, Sam Olson, even Cameron Barmore, the transfer from Mercyhurst, I don't really know what the role is for Caden Luke. So I wouldn't bank on him to maybe catch a lot of touchdown passes, but hey, you never know. Weber State game, there could be a lot of opportunities for Big Red to get out there and score some points.
That would be electric. And it might make the season if he could somehow get a touchdown kind of in like a 3 tight end set, maybe on the goal line. Maybe it's play action and he blocks and fakes a block and then leaks out. Like, I can envision something like that happening, maybe in a kind of a trick sense. But I had the same kind of inclination that you just told us right now from being out there at practice, that this is essentially just a move to have him in a few more packages where, as a blocker, where, if maybe they have a goal line set or something, you want essentially the guy who is your fullback on the field, kind of paving the way for that running back to hopefully find the end zone. So that's kind of what I assumed, but I know that was somewhat of a question mark for some fans in the Arizona scope of things who were just wondering if that meant maybe more of a defined role for Caden Luke or not. But I think that what you just said there, Justin, seems like what makes the most sense for sure.
But here's the thing, he could have this title, maybe the best CDO football player at the U of A since Kadeem Carey.
Maybe. How about that? Boom.
Just saying. So
didn't Jared Tevez play past Kadeem Carey?
Oh yeah, you're right. Never mind.
So since Jared Tevez,
okay,
yeah,
really good company. Still
another great player from Arizona football perspective. But lots of stuff going on out there at camp, including as you mentioned, Ishmael Mahdi. Something that you talked about is his kind of leading the NCAA in all-purpose yards as a return man. He figures to be Arizona's probably primary back or at least starting back. I know that they're probably going to mix that up a little bit, but do you envision Ishmael Mahdi returning kicks for this program? Is Quincy Craig maybe going to get involved in that as someone that you mentioned returned a lot of kicks at Portland State and at Modern Day in particular? Who do you see as the primary returner for the Wildcats this season?
Yeah, I would expect Ishmael Mahdi to be one of those guys. He has taken reps at kick returner. Same with Quincy Craig. Wesley Yarbrough has been in the mix too. They've also used guys like Javon Watley and Chris Hudson and Jeremiah Patterson. So they have a good mix of guys that they've been rotating. But yes, Ishmael Mahdi, I mean, a guy like that who is a proven weapon as a kick returner. And I think this is also a way for Ishmael Mahdi to continue to show his NFL potential, right? It's so hard to make a 53-man roster. And so for a lot of these guys, even though they are going to be starters, continuing to sharpen their tools on in the special team space, getting those reps is going to show their potential as NFL contributors and guys that can stick around. There are guys at the NFL level that are just special teams guys. That's all they do. And, Ishmael Mahdi, I don't know if he's going to be an NFL running back, but he can be, because what he's doing in the special team space is going to allow him to get those opportunities. So Ishmael Mahdi, I mean, he could be Arizona's leading rusher, but he could also be maybe Arizona's leader in the kick return game as well. So he's definitely one of those options.
One thing I wanted to for sure ask you about today, Justin, is the recent comments made by Coach Danny Gonzalez about how last season the team was simply poached poorly. What is wrong with my brain today? Coached poorly. You don't usually hear coaches coming out and saying the quiet part out loud, kind of like that, especially when so much of the staff is holdovers from last year. I know you made a couple big changes to the staff, but a lot of these faces are similar to last year, right? So what was your reaction to those, and what do you make of that comment from Danny Gonzalez?
Well, duh. Of course they were coached poorly. I mean, it was obvious. I mean, look at the offensive side of the ball. Look at Dino Babers and Matt Atkins. That offensive play calling and that offense, whatever the hell that was, it just wasn't a good mix, right? Noah Fifita also has to take some responsibility for that as well. But man, the delayed handoffs, the long routes where Noah is, kind of scrambling and they're doing scramble drill and they're trying to, really improvise and create something out of nothing. There was a lot of that last year. There was no rhythm to the offense. There was no sense of urgency. Everything looked slow and so lethargic. And so they got rid of Dino Babers and Matt Atkins, And Seth Dagey even talked about it. He was like, Brent knows these guys personally. Like, he had to cut personal relationships for the betterment of Arizona football and this team.
And he's a relationships guy too. So it's not like he's a cold-hearted coach who's just going to cut ties and be like, well, didn't work, see ya. This means something to him, to your point.
Yes. And that's the thing is, Brent Brennan, he doesn't want to do that, right? He wants to keep the band together and keep everyone assembled. But, Brent also realized, if I don't make some of these hard decisions, it could cost me this job. And so how can we get the right people in place? Well, they went out and got Seth Dagey, who turned Marshall's offense into one of the top offenses in the Sun Belt. And they won the Sun Belt Conference Championship because of that offense. And they ran the ball. They ran the ball a lot, right? People think of, Mike Leach, air raid. Man, they're going to throw the ball 60 times a game. And they ran the ball a lot last year because, he doesn't try to fit a square peg into a round hole, which we saw last year. That offensive play calling with the personnel that they have, which, hey, they got the greatest receiver in program history. And yet the offense just had no rhythm or identity. It still boggles my mind that T-Mac made up 44% of the passing offense. Like, one player made up damn near half of the passing attack. That cannot happen this year. And it's not going to happen this year because Noah Fifita has a variety of wide receivers that he can throw to. And so I think that getting the right coaches in place was very important. And they did that with the defense as well, with Danny Gonzalez taking over at defense for Dwayne Aquina. And Dwayne Aquina briefly went back to defensive backs, which is where I think he belonged. That coaching DBs is really the only thing that Dwayne Aquina should be in charge of. He's a great coach. He's absolutely brilliant. But he lost me as a defensive coordinator when Arizona was rolling out a dime defense against the best rushing offense in the Big 12. Like, when I'm seeing a dime defense against UCF, and that's all they're doing, and UCF is just carving them up in the run game, I'm like sitting in the press box like, dude, I know I'm supposed to be objective here, but holy hell, what am I watching right now?
You were objective, and objectively, it was a stupid decision.
It was so stupid. But listen, and I say that in the most respectful way possible because this dude is literally the best defensive backs coach of all time. Like, both things can be true. That some of the defensive game plans that we saw last year, oh my goodness, what was that? Dwayne Aquina is also the GOAT when it comes to DBs. Both things can be true. And then special teams, Danny Gonzalez is a great defensive coach, but the special teams part was also an issue too. The number of times that Arizona wasn't prepared for a fake field goal, the onside kick against Colorado. There were
Chuba
a lot of Chuba Mai. And, Craig Naivar doesn't want to spill the secrets too much, the new special teams coordinator, but there's not going to be many defensive linemen in that backfield protecting the punter. They're going to have more linebacker, tight end types that can run down the field and make the play, right? And so I think getting a guy that is just dedicated to special teams in Craig Naivar, I mean, he is a fiery guy. And these players love to play for him. And he is so detail-oriented when it comes to special teams. And they're already noticing a huge difference in the special team space. And so making those decisions, getting Danny G away from special teams and being the leader of the defense, which he has a proven track record. He's got top 20 defenses at ASU and also San Diego State. And if you think about it, at that time, ASU had just started with Herm Edwards. They didn't really have the cream of the crop when it came to defensive players. San Diego State, you think they're out recruiting some of these big West Coast powers? Absolutely not. But he turned them into aggressive winners. And I feel like you're going to see something similar with this Arizona defense, right? You don't have any household names, guys that are getting the preseason accolades and the recognition. But, I mean, this man, if you give Danny Gonzalez the ingredients, he's going to make some chicken salad. And so I think putting it all together, shut up, Kevin. I think putting it all together. I say that all
the time, Justin.
Huh?
I say that all the time. Like 3 times a day, I say, shut up, Kevin.
It caught me off guard. You could have been making anything. And he said chicken salad, and it took me for a loop. That's all.
Okay. The point I was trying to make is he can get all the ingredients in the kitchen, and he's like, all right, I'm going to make something out of it. We're going to make some freaking chicken salad, all right? But I think the fact that, Danny Gonzalez and his track record as a defensive play caller, I think Craig Nivar and his track record as a special teams guy. And, he established the Australian pipeline back at Texas. He brought in Michael Dixon, who was the 2-time Big 12 Special Teams Player of the Year for the Longhorns. He was also the winner of the Ray Guy Award, and he's from Australia. And one of the first things he did when he got to Arizona, or when Arizona was done in the spring, he went over to Australia and got himself a punter. And Isaac Lovison looks like the real deal. And like I said, the coaches that they have now, everyone is in the right seat. And then the players, they got damn near 60 newcomers. And the guys that they recruited, they want to be here. The guys that have returned, they want to be here and finish what they started and continue this tradition and this player-run legacy that they have here. And so now you feel like it's all kind of coming together. Now, Danny Gonzalez is saying Rose Bowl and CFP, and Arizona's far away from that, in my opinion. But, he did say something that, really was very interesting. ASU was 16th last year. Now, Arizona or ASU was voted 16th last year. Arizona doesn't have Cam Scattaboo, right? But they were voted 16th, and they ended up winning the league and going to the CFP. And Danny Gonzalez's message is, hey, if those guys can do it, why not us?
Yeah, I saw a lot of ASU fans kind of trying to I don't know how else to say this, like kind of take the piss out of us a little bit by being like, oh, you're idolizing our program. But I would argue that that's the only mentality to have when you're considered to be one of the lower rated teams in your conference preseason, when you just saw a team accomplish such a miraculous feat. And if Danny Gonzalez wasn't telling that kind of stuff to his team, I would be concerned. If he was sitting up there going, guys, are we going to be the best team in the conference? Probably not. That's our job to do that kind of stuff and try to talk to the fans about, how the team's going to be. And I think that we're all kind of in agreement on this panel here that like the team is going to be a little bit better than maybe the consensus feeling around them is. But as you said, Justin, they're a long ways away from the college football playoff. But again, I would be concerned if my coach wasn't out there with that mentality saying those kind of things. Is it unfortunate it just so happens to be our rival? Yes, but I also didn't take any particular offense as an Arizona fan from that comment, although I do kind of understand. If I was an ASU fan, I'd probably be saying the same things as well. So I don't know. Yeah. To me, it's a much to do about nothing. But as you were explaining, like, I felt last year that the defense with Dwayne Aquina, maybe it wasn't always set up the best. I thought that they played hard, though. You saw them play hard, and despite a ton of injuries, they still brought energy to every game. And I would give a lot of credit to the coaching staff for that one. The offense was the opposite, right? It felt aimless. Every time they'd show T-Mac on the sideline, it looked like the guy was sitting there scratching his head being like, why did I come back this season? Why is this why are we going through this? Noah Fifita looked, broken after he's getting hit every single play, essentially every drop back. No run plays are working the entire time. Like it was really demoralizing. And I feel that just now on defense, you're going to be put in better places. You have, you still have that energy on that side of the ball. The special teams has a guy who specializes in special teams, and the offense has just an entirely brand new energy about them that you didn't see last season. And all of those, that's how we started off the show, Justin, with our Shady Rays Future is Bright segment. Like just the difference in the coaching staff, Seth Dagey, Joe Salvea, Craig Nivar, all those guys getting brought in. I think that that's got to make you have some room for optimism as an Arizona football fan.
Arizona whiffed on some of the coaching hires last year, and Brent Brennan won't publicly admit it, but I'm sure he would tell you if you got a few drinks in him and guys were hanging out in private. Like I just think that Joe Salavea, that hire, in my opinion, outside of Seth Dahey, that was the biggest hire of the offseason.
Yep.
Because, we've been talking about this guy being a defensive coordinator, maybe even a head coach at Arizona. And now he's coaching your defensive line, and he wants to be here. He wants to be here for the long haul and really help out Brent Brennan, get things going here at Arizona. And it's so funny. Danny Gonzalez said something yesterday that really stuck with me. He said, if a coach gets fired, it's because the 10 assistants screwed him. And these guys are really taking ownership and making sure that they are doing their 1/10 on their coaching staff to, have their position group, their side of the ball, do their job. And these guys want Brent Brennan to be here. They really do. And Brent wants to be here. And I know that there's a lot of Arizona fans that are really frustrated with how things are going right now. But, when you compare it to the other guys who are here at Arizona, I mean, Brent Brennan is really different, right? Like, let's go back to, let's say Rich Rodriguez, right? Rich Rodriguez, people forget, was kind of flirting with South Carolina a little bit. He had his eyes on some other programs.
2014, right? Right after the Fiesta Bowl season.
I think it was either 2014 or maybe 2015 or something like that. But South Carolina was very interested, right? And he was getting some looks at from other schools. Man, think about it. Alabama damn near hired Rich Rodriguez instead of Nick Saban. Think about that butterfly effect and how different college football would be if that actually happened.
What is with Nick Saban and having butterfly effects that affect University of Arizona football programming? Like, I don't understand why Nick Saban on the way into Alabama causes a butterfly effect, and on the way out of Alabama causes a butterfly effect. I would like Nick Saban to stay out of our damn business, but that is neither here nor there.
But if Nick Saban was interested in coaching your football team, Kevin,
he could be our business. He could be our business.
I was just about to say, don't close that door too fast, Kevin, because I'm sitting here being like, Nick Saban.
AZ, we love Brent Brennan.
What are you thinking?
But yeah, going back to Rich Rodriguez, he was looking at other places, and then his replacement, Kevin Sumlin, we all know he didn't want to be at Arizona. He did not care one bit. And I'll never forget when Arizona fans, when they first saw Kevin Sumlin, how cool he was. Right? They're like, man,
swag copter.
He's so cool. He's got the swag copter. He's not yelling. He's not like Mike Stoops or Rich Rodriguez. He's not a hothead. He's just such a cool guy. And then they started to lose games. And what was the tune after that? Oh, he doesn't care. He doesn't want to be here. And that was actually the truth, right? Yeah. But it was so funny to see Arizona fans, how hopeful they were. They're like, oh, man, this guy coached Johnny Manziel, and just look how cool he is. And then it obviously went left very, very fast. But Kevin Sumlin, he didn't want to be here. Jedd Fisch, yes, he loved Arizona, and he's very appreciative of his time at the U of A. But we all knew if this thing works out well for Jedd Fisch, considering his background, he's going to level up and go to another big-time program at the FBS level or Power 4 level, or he's going to go coach in the NFL. I didn't think he was going to leave at the time that he did. I didn't think he was going to go to a program like Washington, right? We all thought he was going to go to Florida, his alma mater, or maybe even a place like UCLA, being in a big city like Los Angeles, and also being in the Big Ten. But we all knew that Jedd Fisch had his eyes somewhere else at all times. Brent Brennan doesn't have his eyes anywhere else. Like Brent, the only school that I could really conceivably see Brent going to is his alma mater in UCLA. But even UCLA, that is a way more challenging job than Arizona in the Big 12. You're coaching UCLA in the Big 10. Yeah. And let's be real here. That program doesn't have a lot of boosters or funding or people that are heavily interested in UCLA football. Like, that is a dead-end job. So Brent Brennan doesn't want to go to a place like UCLA. Brent Brennan wants to be here at Arizona. He wants to build something special here. And, his predecessor, Jedd Fisch, showed, yeah, you can reach 10 wins. You can get to that level. And I think that Brent and his passion, his commitment to the program, I think it could last a long time. And I think that they could have something special here. But, this year they're really going to have to make some magic. And, 6-6, 7-5, if you get there, that's going to, get Brent Brennan another season. Even if they go 5-7, as long as you're competitive in all 7 of those losses and you're not getting killed, I think is going to really vibe well with Arizona fans, even if they don't make the postseason. But I feel like if Arizona fans, if they really want to feel good about the direction of the Brent Brennan era, 6-6, 7-5, get to that postseason, come back another season. They have a lot of really good young players that they're developing, like this freshman class. In a couple of years, they're going to be really, really good. I mean, some of them are going to contribute this year and also next year, but they have some momentum in the offseason. Now it's time to have that momentum show out on the field, so that way you can get more momentum and build for 2026.
It's interesting when you think about, and you kind of did it there, the timeline of Arizona coaches over the years. I almost feel that since Rich Rod, every new coach that they've brought in has almost been like an attempt to go the opposite of what their last coach was. So they had Rich Rod, the fiery personality. They brought in Kevin Sumlin to replace him, kind of as you said, like the cool, calm, collected kind of guy on the sidelines. Then you realize Kevin Sumlin is just apathetic. And so you bring in Jed Fish, the grinder, the guy who just never stops no matter what, is constantly going, right? And then Jed Fish, you realize that he's a stepping stone guy. He used your school as an opportunity to find to the next job. So what do? You go out and you get Brent Brennan, who you don't think will do that to you. You think that if Brent Brennan is successful, that he'll want to stay right there at Arizona because, of his wife going to Arizona and him in his past here, his brother's past here, his connection to Dick Tomey. So it's like Dick Tomey. So it's like it's interesting. Like I've always felt that like there's almost an opposite attempt at every turn to try to somewhat like do it like better than what you did the last time. And I don't know if anyone else feels that, but I kind of like that came as a realization to me as you were discussing it.
Yeah, and that started after Stoops, because Stoops and Rich Rodriguez were kind of the same personality.
Yes.
But
On the
Stoops,
sideline, yep.
On the sidelines. But Stoops was never a head coach prior to that.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That was his first head coaching gig. And then Rich Rodriguez was a retread. But I mean, as far as X's and O's, game planning, like Rich Rodriguez is pretty damn good. It's just Rich Rodriguez's thing was that he couldn't really recruit, and he kind of ignored the areas that would really help out Arizona, like recruiting Polynesian players. Like there weren't many Polynesian players when Arizona had Rich Rodriguez as its head coach. And then also recruiting the state of Texas. That was a thing that I'll never forget. It was a 2015 or 2016 season. And I'll never forget seeing Arizona's defensive line against Utah's offensive line and seeing the averages. And it was like average weight for Utah's offensive line, 320 pounds, like across the board. Like they just had some just hosses up front. And then the average weight for Arizona's defensive lineman was like 258 or something like that. Like it was just, it was totally unfair. And so, but Arizona didn't have any guys from Texas. They didn't have any really Polynesian players. And then it was kind of too little too late for Rich Rodriguez because he started to actually do that more, especially recruiting out of the state of Texas. So I think that, the coaching history of Arizona football in recent years has been very interesting. But I think that this guy that they have now, if things go well for him, he's going to be here for the long haul. He's either going to retire or get fired here. And, it kind of, I don't want to say upsets me, but, I question Arizona fans a little bit just because it's like, man, it just seems like you guys are rooting against this guy. And yet he wants to be here for a long, long time. Like, if anything, you guys should be rooting for this guy to be very successful. Now, you can be critical of what happened last season. I totally get that. I totally understand. But, the people that are clamoring for him to get fired and let go, and I don't understand it. And I think that, Brent Brennan, if things go well here, like I said, he's going to be here for a long, long time. And that's really cool because, you look up north at ASU, you got a guy by the name of Kenny Dillingham, who's kind of the same thing, right? I mean, a guy that know damn well if he really gets ASU going and turns them into a consistent winner, he ain't going anywhere. And so it would be really cool to see Brent Brennan and Kenny Dillingham go toe to toe for so many years as really good football coaches and good football programs.
I see personally, I don't know about you, Justin. I think you just said it right there, but I hope Kenny Dillingham is doing it for the Buckeyes. Like that's where I'm banking on. Goes move on up in the world, Kenny. Come on, man. Don't you have high expectations for yourself? Damn.
Oh, trust me, there's going to be a point in time where he's going to have to make some big decisions.
For sure.
There's going to be an SEC school or like a high-level Big Ten school, and they're going to see that magic that he is creating as a young coach, and they're going to see if maybe they can steal him. And ASU, they're going to have to do some things to make sure that they keep Kenny Dillingham, but it's home to him. It's home to him, and I don't think he's going to go anywhere. I think he's going to be there until he gets fired, and I think Brent Brennan is in the same boat right now.
I'm with you on that, but just so you know, Kenny, I'll put that out here right here on the public airwaves. I'll drive you wherever you need to go. I'll pack my car. You put your suitcase in. I'll take you across cross country road trip to Gainesville.
See, that's special. I would just drop him off at the airport, say bye-bye.
Nah.
Make sure you get
take it a step further.
Some brand redacted snacks at the brand redacted little shop there. Yeah, but also I wanted to touch on what Justin was saying there at the end about people rooting against Brent Brennan. For one, I'm man enough to say results still out, but I was against Brent Brennan coming back, right, this upcoming year. I didn't necessarily see a vision. I didn't see anything that told me things were going to change. Now things have changed. There's new information. You have Setegi. We've outlined on this podcast and throughout the offseason all the different changes that Brent Brennan has made to address the feelings that I had as a fan at the end of last season. But for one, I'm rooting for Brent Brennan. I would like Brent Brennan to succeed at Arizona because it means Arizona football is good.
Yes.
And I think that what Justin's identified is like some people that had the take that I had of let's get rid of Brent Brennan, they're not willing to change with new information because they want to be right. They want to look back on it and say, see, I was right. He was a bum the whole time. They would almost prefer Arizona to go like 0-12 this year and Brent Brennan to be fired so that they can get like 12 likes on their Brent Brennan fired tweet than Arizona actually succeed and them have to come out and be like, you know what? I was just wrong about this guy. I evaluated it wrong. I gave up too fast like I did. But like, I don't know. I think that I've seen that too, Justin. And I think it's a lot of people that just want to be right. And they picked a side and they're not going to switch sides because they're anti-Brent Brennan. And he could go out and win a national title. And they would still be like, well, I mean, you could have did it in year one. You had T-Mac. You should have been able to do it in year one with T-Mac.
You saw that same phenomenon happen with Fish. And he did prove them wrong. I remember in the 1-11 season, after the 1-11 season, people are like, you can't lose to NAU and keep this job. And then Jedd Fisch has Arizona in the Alamo Bowl against Oklahoma, and those same people were not celebrating with the rest of the Arizona fans because they hated Jedd Fisch so much, and they were so blinded by their original opinion. And it's so true. It's just like, guys, at the end of the day, are we not Arizona fans? I know Justin is not. He's obviously a big J, but me and Kevin up here are like, we're Arizona fans. We both wanted Brent Brennan gone after last season, but we're both willing to change our opinions based off of new information. We know that we have Brent Brennan right now, so you might as well make the most of it and root for it to go well. And what's the point of just doing nothing but spewing negativity on your football program before the season even starts? If it happens again next season and it looks exactly like it did last season, then that criticism will be earned. And I think Brent Brennan would be the first guy to tell you that. But right now, it's pointless. It's aimless. You're just doing it so that you can get angry about something and yell at a cloud.
And it'd be one thing if Brent Brennan didn't identify the fact that last season was unacceptable and that his performance is unacceptable.
Yeah, he's been accountable.
He's been very accountable, and he's not been apathetic. He's not been hiding away anywhere. He's been very in front of our face with everything he's been doing this offseason. And so I think he's made, after last season's result, which we can no longer change, he has controlled the controllables, and he has been a totally different guy. I'm not saying he's been a different guy like off field, outside of the cameras, but I'm saying from what we've gotten as Arizona fans, it's been a night and day experience, the Brent Brennan experience of 2024 to the Brent Brennan experience of 2025. And so he's only doing what he can do. It seems like he's just a guy trying his best, like me, like Justin, like Damon. And so, yes, we're going to criticize the hell out of him because he's a football coach, but he's still a person, and if he is trying his hardest and actually succeeding, I'm willing to change my opinion that he should keep his job, vice versa, whatever. So yeah, people, new information, change your opinions. It's okay to say you were wrong.
Justin, before we got out of here today, I did want to give you a chance to kind of talk about your recent feature that you did on Colt Brennan, who of course is related to Brent Brennan, and Arizona has the Hawaii game very much in their sights at this point. So could you just talk a little bit about that piece that you did and just the connection there?
Yeah, it was an idea that I had a couple months ago, and I wanted to do it leading up to the game, but I realized that game week, there's just so much going on that I wanted to get it done the week before. And I knew that they were related to each other, and so I wanted to talk to Brent, and I also talked to Brent Brennan about it as well. Talked to Nick Rolovich, the former Hawaii head coach and Washington State head coach, who was an assistant coach for Hawaii at that time when when Colt Brennan was there. And let's see, who else did I talk to? June Jones, the head coach of the Rainbow Warriors, who was the winningest head coach in Hawaii football history. And it's the first time that Arizona is playing Hawaii since Colt Brennan had passed. And it's also the first time that Arizona is playing Hawaii since Dick Tomey had passed. And if you think about both of those guys, Colt Brennan, in my opinion, is on the Mount Rushmore of Hawaii football. And Dick Tomey, outside of June Jones, maybe the best coach in Hawaii football history. I mean, he won a lot of games with the Rainbow Warriors, and they have such a profound impact on that football program. And then when Dick Tomey came over to Arizona, he recruited a lot of Hawaiian players to the U of A. And so, Dick Tomey, he's like an honorary Polynesian, right? Whenever he went over to the island, you could just you could feel that love. Joe Salavea will tell you.
He's going to the barbecue cookout, is what you're saying?
Hell yeah.
Oh, Dick Tomey was totally invited to the luau, 100%. He was just such a beloved figure in Hawaii, and so, but with Colt Brennan, it's such a sad story, and really should be a 30 for 30 or one of those untold documentaries on Netflix, because this was a quarterback who grew up with the Brennans, right? Grew up around Brent Brennan and Brad Brennan, but he was 10 years younger than Brent. And so he was always kind of like that little extra annoying brother that just hung around them whenever they would hang out for the 4th of July or Thanksgivings, whenever they had their turkey bowls, and he's over off to the side, decked out in his LA Rams uniform, and he's trying to get into the game with the big cousins, as Brent Brennan said. And he just always had a football in his hand and was such a good player and was so passionate about it. And his dream was to play quarterback at Mater Dei. And he did that. And he was the backup quarterback to Matt Leinart for the first few years of his career there. Waited for his opportunity, became the starter as a senior, balled out, but was not really a highly touted recruit. And then he goes to Colorado. He went to Colorado first, got into some legal issues, and then was released from the team, and then went to Saddleback College, kind of repaired his image a little bit, put up some really good numbers at Saddleback. And what's so funny is that he got interest out of the junior college level, and Brent Brennan was an assistant coach at San Jose State at the time. Dick Tomey was the head coach at San Jose State. They recruited Colt Brennan to go play at San Jose State, but he found June Jones and that run and shoot offense and went over there to Hawaii and played for the Warriors. And he won the job in his first season. He came there as like a redshirt sophomore or something like that. Had 3 years of eligibility left, and he won the job. And other quarterbacks that were there were Jack Rolovich, Nick Rolovich's younger brother, Tyler Gronke, who played at South Point Catholic and is from Tucson, Arizona, and another quarterback, Kainoa Akina, the son of Dwayne Akina, who also played high school football in Tucson, Arizona. So, just the connections to Tucson right off the bat in his first season at Hawaii was just absolutely insane. And then he, like I said, won the job, put up insane numbers in his first season. And then the following season was when he put up 58 touchdowns and 12 interceptions. 58 touchdowns in a season is just absolutely absurd. And the cool thing about Colt Brennan's career at Hawaii and how he excelled at that position, he didn't really have the natural, I guess, arm angle whenever he threw the football. It was really like a Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen type, like all the high level quarterbacks that you see right now and all the different arm slots that they're throwing the football out of. Colt Brennan was doing that at Hawaii, which got him a lot of criticism. But, he won a lot of games at Hawaii and turned into this legendary figure in Hawaii. I mean, kids wanted his autograph. He couldn't go anywhere without people wanting his autograph and taking pictures with him. And even though he was this like outsider who came in from Southern California, was only there to play football at Hawaii, he became this hero of Hawaii. And June Jones said it when I interviewed him, that if Colt Brennan was still alive right now, he'd be the governor of Hawaii. Like, that's how impactful of a person he was. And then was a Heisman Trophy finalist. Like he was standing alongside Darren McFadden and Tim Tebow in New York for the Heisman Trophy ceremony. And it may be the only time we'll ever see a Hawaii football player as a Heisman Trophy finalist. So he is just an absolute legend. And then he went to the NFL, or really, actually, backtracking here, what really like solidified his legacy at Hawaii was even after the 58 touchdown season, he decided to come back. He could have capitalized on his booming season and went and turned pro, but he wanted to finish what he started at Hawaii, graduate, and see if he could lead Hawaii to, a national championship or a big time bowl game. And they finished the regular season undefeated. They went to go play Georgia in the Sugar Bowl, and they got absolutely smacked around by Matt Stafford and the Dogs. And then he comes back for another season and finishes off.
Those teams were nasty, by the way. No reason to feel bad about that. That Georgia team in particular was pretty unreal, if I do remember correctly.
Was that
Sean Moreno?
Yes, AJ Green as well.
I believe so. Yeah, AJ Green was on that team. I mean, you had NFL players up and down that roster.
Yeah. So losing 41-10 to that team was just like, okay, that's just kind of expected. And it's the Sugar Bowl. You're coming all the way from Hawaii and you're playing against Georgia, who had to travel 20 minutes to the game. So kind of expected for Hawaii to get smacked around. But he came back as a senior, didn't put up similar numbers, or didn't put as eyebrow-raising numbers as he did the previous season, but still very solid career at Hawaii. And, they only lost 4 games while he was the starter. Or no, in the last 2 seasons, they only lost 4 games. So just a great career at Hawaii. And then he went to the NFL and was selected by the team formerly known as the Washington Redskins. And in his first preseason, had the most touchdowns in that preseason schedule out of all the rookie quarterbacks, right? Guys like Joe Flacco was one of the rookie quarterbacks. There was another big time guy as well in that class. And Colt Brennan showed a lot of promise, but he got hurt, and he was also the backup quarterback to Jason Campbell. And Jason Campbell started, I think, every single game that season. And Colt Brennan was eventually traded to the Raiders, or he signed with the Raiders and was released. So even though he played in the NFL for a few seasons, he never actually logged a regular season snap, never appeared in an NFL game. And then, while he was in the NFL, after he got released by the Redskins, he got into a really bad car accident in Hawaii. And it impacted his brain. He had this like really traumatic brain injury that really affected like kind of his emotional control. Like he was very impulsive and just really wasn't the same person. And I think when you couple that with the injuries from football, I mean, it really took Colt Brennan down a dark path, and he started abusing drugs, abused alcohol, and like I said, went down a dark path. And was just kind of hanging around in Hawaii, hanging around in Southern California, just kind of floating around. And then people wanted to help him, though. People in Hawaii, they wanted to give him the proper help. Unfortunately, Colt just couldn't really help himself. And his dad, Terry, who is Brent's uncle, and Terry is Brent's dad's brother, Terry took him to a detox center in, I think, Newport Beach. And because they didn't have any available beds, they turned him away. And a few hours later, that's when Colt Brennan ingested fentanyl and overdosed and died. Think about that. He was turned away from a detox center and just hours later passed away from a drug overdose. And it's really just it's a sad story. It really is, because this guy is a Hawaii football hero and is so beloved in his family and was just such a charming guy and a really great person, but couldn't stay out of his own way. And so that's why I said, this story has to be like a documentary of some sort, because this guy had Hawaii football popping. Like Aloha Stadium was packed every single week to see Colt Brennan and the magic that he produced on the field. And then to see what the last few years of his life was like, man, it's just a very sad story. And, Brent Brennan being at San Jose State, he coached against Hawaii. Like they would go to Honolulu and play in those games. So, he kind of grieved during that time. And then his last game at San Jose State, they lost the Hawaii Bowl. So they went over there, played in a bowl game. His very last game ever at San Jose State was at Hawaii. And so he has gone through the grieving process, but I'm sure that Colt Brennan and Dick Tomey will certainly be on the mind of Brent Brennan when Arizona plays Hawaii on August 30th.
Yeah, no, I read that feature this morning. It was an incredibly beautiful piece that you put together, Justin, for Tucson.com. Make sure to go check that out as well, because that's not even the full depth of the story that you told in that feature, right? You also, I saw in there I believe, maybe I'm getting my wires crossed, but a beautiful picture of Noah and Dash Fifita.
Oh, yes.
In a Brennan jersey. I believe in the caption it says they're watching a Lakers game, but they're just gaming. They're playing like 2K, like Lakers versus Nuggets. And Noah Fifita has a Colt Brennan shirt, a jersey on as well. And it's just the ties, the family ties in this program are unbelievable. And like when Brent Brennan talks about this program being family and like he wants it to feel that way for these players, it's not BS. Like he's not just selling a story. This is real life for him. And there are real ties to this program and this part of the country for him. So yeah, no, that was a beautiful piece of work you did there, Justin.
Thank you, man. And I'm glad that you brought up the Noah Fifita part of it, because when Brent was first hired, one of the first text messages that Winona Fifita sent him, and that's Noah Fifita's mother, was Noah with his brother Dash, and he's wearing the Colt Brennan Washington Redskins jersey, right? It's a T-shirt, but it looks like a jersey. And the fact that you have Noah, who is, 7, 8 years old at that time, wearing that jersey, it just shows the impact that Colt Brennan had on Polynesian football, on Polynesian football players. And that connection right there, it's almost like it was meant to be for Brent Brennan to be the coach of Noah Fifita at Arizona.
Beautiful stuff as always, Justin. And as Kevin said, go check out that piece on Tucson.com for the Arizona Daily Star. Also check out Justin's great work that he does for Spears and Ali every weekday morning from 7 to 9 a.m. as well. Had Jaden Delora on, I saw. Pretty cool guest there talking about, kind of Noah Fifita and playing some arena football back in Tucson, right?
Yeah, IFL Championship this weekend for anyone down in Tucson, Arizona. Jaden Delora in the house, and the Vegas Nighthawks. They're playing the Green Bay Blizzard for the IFL Championship. And so, I mean, it's cool, man. We got, Tucson baseball team coming out of the Mexican League, right? They're setting up roots. They're going to be playing their first, season this year. The World Baseball Classic qualifiers was just in Tucson, Arizona. Yeah. And then every single year we have the Snoop Dogg Arizona Bowl presented by Gin and Juice by Andre and Snoop. And now we've got the IFL Championship for the next 3 years.
Don't forget DJ Tom E. Lloyd and DJ Diesel at Post Moves after the Red and Blue game. Bring it on. Bring it all the way on. Yeah, Tucson is on and popping, Justin. And that game is taking place, the IFL Championship game is taking place Saturday at like 7:30, right?
7:30. So
I might try to be in attendance for that. Wow. I'm going to be in Tucson this weekend getting a haircut. As you can see, I'm looking pretty rough these days. But I might have to stay a couple hours longer and catch a Jaden Delora IFL Championship win. I don't know.
Have you been to the TCC, Kevin?
Yeah.
Have you had the TCC donuts, the mini donuts?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. You're a man of culture. Never mind.
Of course. I'm a man of carb culture. Of course.
I felt bad for Justin right there in that moment. He was trying to put you on, Kevin, and you just crushed his hopes and dreams.
I thought we related on some stuff that we both enjoyed. That's what I thought that was. I didn't know I was crushing his hopes and dreams.
You want to be able to tell your boys, like, dude, you got to check out this place. And then when they go, yeah, I've had it.
Justin's a wealth of knowledge for Tucson. You know what? This Saturday, I will text Justin and be like, give me something I haven't heard, and I will try it this weekend. How about that? We will do that. Yeah, we'll do that this weekend. I'll go down to Tucson, get a haircut, try something never before had, and watch the IFL Championship. There we go.
Hell yeah. Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun, man. These players are really good. And Jaden Delora, I mean, he threw a lot of interceptions while he was at Arizona. This guy's got 3 interceptions and 34 touchdown passes at the IFL level. It's like Jaden Delora was like made to play indoor football. It's insane.
Yeah, I mean, that definitely seems like it. I mean, all less interceptions than he threw in one half versus Mississippi State that will scar me for the rest of my entire life. But it should have even had a better season than we did that year, despite it being one of the best seasons of my entire life. But great stories, great insight as always from our guy Justin Spears. We appreciate you. Went a little long today. Appreciate you, Justin, for taking the time and sticking with us here. And as always, we'll talk to you next week, my man.
Appreciate you guys.
That, of course, was Justin Spears. You can follow him at Justin Esports on Twitter. You could also, follow all of his work at Tucson.com for the Arizona Daily Star, as well as Spears in Ali, like I said, every weekday morning from 7 to 9 a.m. Kevin, anything else before we get out of here?
Let's see, wrap it up. Arizona has a better basketball recruiting class than Duke.
Yep. That's how we started the show.
I'm a bad friend to Justin Spears.
Yeah, that's how we ended it.
Arizona football's future is really bright. Genesis Smith, most underrated, breakout star candidate. Trey Smith, I believe you said yours was Deuced and Tyler Powell?
Yeah.
Tyler Powell and Deuced. I wanted to, real quick, Damon, give a shout out to every single person in the chat right now. We have been strong this whole show. It's been a long show, but it's been a good one. A very jam-packed content show. You know it's going to be that way when Justin Spears comes through. So thank each and every one of you guys in the chat for stopping in today, spending some time with me and Damon as he throws the heart hand up. I'll throw the other one up. But yeah, it was a great show. Tomorrow's Friday. I'm excited. IFL Championship on Saturday.
Wow.
Does it get any better than this? Who's got it better than us? Nobody,
Kevin. You're so damn right about that. Appreciate everybody for being here. Like Kevin said, means the world to us. Please leave a like on this video if you haven't done so already, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done that. But I'd imagine that you have, because of all the loyal people here in the chat. But like Kevin said, chat's been strong today. Viewership's been strong today. We really appreciate you guys. Much love, as always, from your boys here. You can follow Kevin at Kevo Post. You can follow me at Damon Dog with the DAWG on the end of it. And you could follow us at PHNX_Wildcats, where we've been posting some fire social content. So if you haven't gotten involved in that, please do so immediately. But Kevin, that's going to do it for us today. Appreciate everybody for watching. We'll be back on a Friday edition of the AZ Wildcats pod, bringing some Friday energy tomorrow. But until then, peace out, bear down.
And go Cats! IFL Championship, Saturday. I will be there.
We all silly like the mayor.